In real estate investing and in life, there are four main personality traits that you must know how to read in order to have a successful business or successful relationships where you can build rapport, have influence, and convey persuasion. We're going to go into that right now. But what's going on, you guys? I'm Jake Light, aka your favorite investor. I flipped over 1,000 properties over the last 14 years. 99% of it I get right off the MLS on market without paying a single dollar for leads. Typically do it with 100% other people's money. Been able to teach thousands of people the same exact system, help them create success in real estate. And when we talk about real estate investing, it is a numbers and a trends game. But in addition to that, it's also a people game. And oftentimes we get stuck in our own heads hoping that other people aren't judging us. So I want to give you some tips on how to read people, the four main personality types you'll find in this business, how they present themselves with different power team members and power team profiles such as lenders, contractors, as well as real estate agents, and then how to navigate those conversations to put ourselves in the best possible position for success and also having great partnerships where everybody makes money. So let's dive into this. Now, have you ever talked to someone and it just felt like you guys weren't on the same page? You know, things are off. And even though you might be talking about the same subject, it seems like you're talking different languages. In this video, we're gonna learn how to spot and mirror four universal personality types so that we can get more deals. More deals equals more money means scaling of our businesses. Oftentimes in real estate investing, if we use the right systems, it means we can spend less time on our business working as an employee and more time in our business working as a CEO and buying our time back and creating a lifestyle by design. Now, first and foremost, before we get into how to talk to the different types of people, let's go over what these four main personality types actually are. So the first personality type is the shark. The shark, competitive, ROI driven, they want results and they want them now. The way that I was initially taught about this, it was sharks smell blood in the water and they don't care who they have to go through in order to get to what they're trying to feast on. Sharks are aggressive. Sharks go out and try to get what they want. They don't wait for opportunity to fall into their laps, and they're out there creating with no remorse as to whoever gets into their way. Now, that is a picture of a shark, just in case you didn't know what a shark looks like. Now, a shark personality type typically focused on winning, a lot of focus on dominance, a lot of focus on money, right? ROI, show me the money. How are we gonna make money? They're typically fast paced too. They have high D type energy, and no, don't make a dick joke out of that. High D from the disc profile, which means that they're really assertive, they're decisive, and they're obviously bottom line driven. They're the people that are like, get to the point, let's go, let's keep it moving. It's often seen in entrepreneurs, private lenders, high performers, and anytime I think of a shark, I think of attorneys, right? Attorneys oftentimes, they go out, they get what they want with no regard for what's left behind. No offense to you attorneys, some of my best friends are not only real estate attorneys, but just general attorneys, and y'all are sharks. Now, number two is whales. Whales are supportive, they're values driven, and they're loyal. I always refer to them and I can kind of spot them because they're very feelings oriented, okay? So what a whale looks like this one's got a few warts on it. I guess there's a lot of different types of whales, but a whale personality type is motivated by mission, it's motivated by people, and whales are motivated by trust, right? They're often the reliable team player or the values-based lender. They want to make sure that everyone benefits from every deal that's out there. I love whale lenders because they're not just thinking about themselves, they're thinking about the other person on the other side of the negotiating table as well. But oftentimes with whales, they need to feel good about something before they make a decision, right? With sharks, they don't care how they feel. They're making decisions, they're making them quick, they're getting on to the next deal. With whales, they need to make sure that there's trust and a positive feeling with any type of deal or any type of relationship before moving forward. Now, number three is the dolphin, okay? Dolphins are social, they're energetic, they're freedom seeking. The way I was taught this stuff 10, 15 years ago was dolphins are the fun people. Like, they want to party, they want to be around good people, they're always smiling, they want to have fun, they're very upbeat. This is a picture of a couple dolphins jumping through the water. And with the dolphin personality type, they want fun, they want variety, and they want people that they can vibe with, right? They want that positive energy, they want to be on the same wavelength as people. Oftentimes agents and sometimes expressive contractors can be dolphin. They're people that, typically they have a lot of friends. You may find them at the mixers. You may find them belly up at the bar, talking to a whole bunch of strangers. Dolphin is that type of person that brings the vibe, brings the energy into the room. And in order to connect with them, you need to be able to vibe and have that same energy and be able to match their energy. And that's what we'll get into a little bit later on in this video. Now, they have big personalities and they hate boredom. And with that being said, hating boredom, sometimes they're a little bit disorganized. And then you got the sea urchin. The sea urchin is analytical. The sea urchin is data-driven, security-seeking. I'm glad I have these here. Anytime that I want to emulate what it looks like to be a sea urchin, I go nerd mode. I have my nerd glasses, right? And sea urchins aren't nerds. Actually, the sea urchin is a very important part of this business. If I talk about a sea urchin, I'm typically thinking engineer, someone that looks at spreadsheets, someone that dots the I, crosses the T. They want everything down to the 100th decimal point with anything that they do. It's a picture of a sea urchin. I actually thought a sea urchin looked different when I made these slides, but apparently that's a picture of a sea urchin. And the sea urchin personality type, they ask questions, they want structure, and they they don't just want logic, but they need logic. They are not emotionally driven. The numbers and the details have to make sense for a sea urchin. They're often spreadsheet-driven lenders or highly detailed agents. They're the ones, again, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, very, very organized. And then also with sea urchins, you want to kind of avoid the hype, right? With dolphins, you kind of want the hype, you want the energy, you want the grandiose stories. But with the sea urchin, we avoid the hype and we go straight into the system. They want to know how it works. They want to know the nuts and bolts. They want to know how they're safe. They want to know how they're protected. They're going to come at you with 20 different questions about that. So you got to be prepared from that standpoint with the sea urchin personality type if you're dealing with them. Now, when we start talking about this kind of stuff, I think it's natural for the human brain to automatically go to self-diagnosis. Like, what am I? Am I two of these? Do I have all three of these traits? In reality, all of us have a little bit of all four of these traits in us. But in business, usually, and then also with personal lives, we typically have one and sometimes two dominant personality. Like, for example, in one of my business, I'm a shark, and then sometimes I become a whale, right? And those are the two main ones that I am. Another one of my business, I'm a sea urchin, I'm very analytical, but then sometimes the shark comes out, right? In my personal life, I'm definitely a whale and a dolphin. So this can change depending on what you're focusing on, what you're working on, and perhaps where your feelings of inadequacy may be. Most people have one, sometimes two dominant traits when it comes to these personality types. Like I said, most people learn this and immediately start self-diagnosis, and self-awareness is super important. And so I don't want to take away from that. That's a very, very good thing. It's very important to understand who we are so we can approach situations in the right way. And that's good both in business and in life. However, the real magic when it comes to this business, for business in general and in life in general, is reading the room. Most people say to listen to somebody's word patterns to figure out who they are. For example, if I want to figure out whether or not somebody's a whale, I'm listening to if they use the word feel when they're talking. I feel this way. I'm not feeling very good about it. I feel like that. You'll subtly notice it if you start listening to someone's words. And there's a lot of different things using NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. Read the book NLP for Dummies if you want to, start learning about how people's language patterns can show you who their personality is or what their personality is. But most people will start by listening to what somebody's saying. But top 1% real estate investors understand it's not just the words, okay? It's the behavior, it's the vibe, it's the pace in which they talk. It's the pace in which they talk. It's the pace in which they talk, right? I said that 3 different ways with different types of pace, different type of tonality, different type of vibe. And each of those is portraying a behavioral pattern when it comes to these 4 personality types. So all in all, it's not just the words, but it's the way that someone carries themselves that can shed us some light into what type of personality they have in whatever business you're talking with them about, whether it's business or personal life business. So let's go a little bit deeper. So spotting personality types in the field. So number 1, let's talk about lenders. And we're going to go over the top 3 power team profiles, which are lenders, real estate agents, and contractors. And I'm going to go through all 4 of these different personality traits to give you some idea on how to spot them. And then a little bit later on in this video, an idea of how to talk with them, how to interact with them, and then also what happens if things go wrong. So first off, lenders. Let's start with shark lenders. So language cues for a shark lender, you'll hear them say stuff like right away in the conversation. What's a return? If I'm talking to someone, hey, my name is Jake, I'm a real estate investor, I've got this new deal under contract, I'm looking for someone to partner with that provides the financial piece while I take care of everything. Oftentimes, you got a shark lender if they're like, hey, what's a return? How fast can I get it back? How long is this gonna take? They're gonna talk fast and they're gonna grill you with questions, dictate the pace right from the beginning. Send me the numbers, send me the numbers. Now, their behavioral traits Oftentimes they'll interrupt or even try to control the conversation. The good part about them, at least from my perspective, is they make fast decisions if I can create rapport with them, right? That pace, that tempo is really, really important. Now, they may challenge or test your confidence. A lot of times they're sizing you up when you do this. So if you have an idea that someone's a shark, or if you go into a conversation with a lender and you don't know what they are, you want to be prepared to be able to talk fast, speak fast, make decisions quickly, be able to mirror someone's energy. So if they're challenging you or they're testing your confidence, you know that you need to get right back at it and hit that fast tempo just like they're doing. That's called mirroring. A lot of times with sharks, particularly lenders, they don't smile too much. They're focused, they have a dominant just presence to them, and they have dominant tonality as well, right? They're gonna be taking over the conversation. If you start taking over the conversation, they're gonna try to retake that dominant position and that leverage within the conversation. And oftentimes, you guys, it's not strategic that they're doing it, it's just how they are. And so that's okay. We just need to know who we're dealing with as we're dealing with it. Now, how to spot a shark lender: they talk fast, they leave with questions about ROI and speed, they interrupt or push the conversation forward, and they make you feel like you're on the clock. You'll kind of feel like you're on the hot seat. They're grinding you with questions, and all of a sudden, even though you're interviewing a lender, they make it feel like they're interviewing you, and that's totally normal. And they're always in a hurry. A lot of times you'll hear them, or if you're face to face, they'll be referring during conversations to other investments, their other options. They want to talk about all the things that they're doing. And they oftentimes keep things very transactional. You may try to get close with a shark, and sometimes they'll let you in, but a lot of times they keep that barrier, they keep a little bit of cushion between you and them, and they're trying to keep it transactional, they're trying to keep things moving. All right, so let's talk about whale lenders now. So language cues with them: hey, I just want to help people, right? I just want to make sure that people are taken care of. I need to feel good about this, right? There's that feel word again. And again, like we said, anything that includes the word feel, feelings, I feel, you feel, do we feel good about this? Feel. That's a whale lender that we're talking to, and we need to make sure that we kind of take a mental note of that. Now, their behavioral traits: if you're talking with them in person, they're nodding a lot. They're making soft eye contact. They're maybe looking around, but they will make eye contact, but it's soft, right? Like, they're not looking at you all intense. It's very soft eye contact. They have a nod. It's almost like they're saying yes the whole time. Yeah, I say they want to make sure that that they're locked in with you, but a lot of times it's just subconscious, right? They're doing that because that's what they're hardwired to do. They're not even thinking about it. Their instinctual response to having a conversation about business, if it's person to person, belly to belly, is they're vibing with you, they're locked in, they're making that soft eye contact. It's almost rhythmic. Now, they'll also ask you a lot about your own why, your background, your family, what drives you. They're trying to create a relationship. They're trying to create a connection with you in order to do business with you. And they're reluctant to commit without trust, right? So when you hear a whale that's asking you questions about your personal life, if they're trying to get the full story about why you're doing what you do, you've got a whale and you have to treat them as such. Now, how to spot them? They're asking you about your mission, not just the money. They want to feel good emotionally about the deal before making a decision, and they prioritize trust and long-term partnership over ROI. And then finally, they ask how the money will help someone. They care about the story, not just the statistics. All right, let's talk about the dolphin lenders, the happy ones, the ones that just like to party. So some language cues about dolphins when you're talking to lenders. Hey, this is exciting, right? You see how I'm changing my tonality? You seem like a really fun person to work with. You seem like an awesome person to work with. Good complimenters too, dolphins are. And any story or reference that they give you about being out socially, being out, if they're at a convention or they're a meetup group, they want to talk about these social situations, these social settings. Even if it's just, something that has nothing to do with business. If you're talking to someone, they're talking about how they went to a party last week, or they went to a mom's meetup, a couple days ago. They always refer to that type of stuff because the social aspect of life is really, really important and has a tremendous amount of value with them. And again, you guys, this is not judging anyone. There's nothing wrong with that. But all of us have a little bit of every one of these personality types in us. But again, with most people, there is one, sometimes two dominant traits. And it's on us as top 1% real estate investors to be able to determine what that personality trait that's dominant within them is. Okay, their behavioral traits: they're animated, they're expressive with their face and their hands, right? If you're talking to a lender, hey, you seem like a really good person to work with. A lot of smiles, a lot of just positive aura, positive energy just radiating from them. They talk about their lifestyle or their hobbies, and they jump topics quickly. They may not follow up without reminders. Sometimes I get really frustrated if I have a dolphin that's working for me somewhere because I have to hit them with reminders. And if I'm doing anything social, I typically get into dolphin mode, whether it's creating content, whether it's being on a podcast. I get into dolphin mode. And when I get into dolphin mode, I forget stuff. And so if I've hired somebody and they start forgetting things too, two forgetful people can oftentimes let things slide, and that's when things get sloppy. So that's a fun fact about dolphin. Now, dolphin lenders, how to spot them: they smile, they use upbeat and casual language. They talk about lifestyle, they talk about travel more than the deal when you're on a call with them. Now, these people need follow-up. They get excited and then distracted, and then they want to feel the energy, not just a spreadsheet. If they vibe with you, they'll move pretty quickly. Dolphins, a lot of times, are entrepreneurs that have some money and they want to do deals, but they want to make sure that there's positive energy, positive vibes, almost a party atmosphere behind the deal that you're doing, the relationship, the joint venture partnership that you're getting into. They want to feel like you have similar values to them. And because we all have a little dolphin in us, it's not that difficult to do if you pick up on some of these things. All right, sea urchin lenders. These are some of the toughest ones. So you have to be prepared for this. It's almost the opposite of this end of the spectrum as a shark, but it's just as intense. Sea urchin lenders, language cues. They're going to be talking about the comps. They want the scope of work. They want the plan. I'm a numbers person. You'll hear them say that. So with the sea urchins, I think engineer, they're like, hey, send me the details. Give me the bullet points. Give me the spreadsheet. Make sure the numbers are right on point. You better, if you're sending them that stuff, better make sure there's no typos, and you better make sure that things are on point when you send them something. Behavioral traits, they speak slowly and methodically. Not a lot of emotion when they're talking to you. They're very calm, and sometimes it's almost like they're reading from a script, because oftentimes sea urchins have trouble in communicating with other humans, right? Sometimes they're introverts. Oftentimes they're introverts. I'm changing up my pace. It's really hard for me to talk slow, but if I'm talking to an urchin, I'm going to match that tonality, match that pace, and make sure I'm talking about every single aspect of the universal formula and why risk is mitigated in doing a deal on this flip that I have in front of them. They'll pause before answering. Think Elon Musk. If you've ever seen an Elon Musk interview, somebody will ask him a question, the question's over, and he goes, well, right? So there's almost like an awkward silence, because he's gathering his thoughts. He's very specific approach to answering a question, and the logic is going through his brain. The guy's brain is like a spreadsheet. He is kind of awkward, socially. He's kind of awkward on camera, even though he is the marketing behind his companies. But you'll see that he is very, very analytical, not only to his approach with scientific businesses that he owns, but also in just answering a simple question. That's why it seems a little awkward when he's on camera, particularly when he's talking to somebody else. Now, also, they need things in writing. They're gonna ask for documentation. There's no handshake deals that you're gonna do with something. They want it in writing before they're wiring the money. They want it in writing before they make a decision on the deal. And a lot of times they're going to independently take a look at things. They're not gonna make a decision on the call. Instead, they wanna look at the deal. They wanna look at the comps themselves. They'll probably create their own spreadsheet, and they wanna make sure that they come up with the same answer that you do after your call is done with them, so you can schedule up a follow-up call with them. Now, how to spot them: they ask detailed questions before showing emotion. They request documentation before the conversation ends. They need time to think it over and run numbers independently. They ask a lot of questions. If you send a 10-point email, they're going to reply with 10 separate questions about each point that you have on the message that you send them. They can be fun to deal with. They're also great people. I have a lot of sea urchin in me, or else I wouldn't be where I'm at flipping houses, because it's all numbers and trends. So spotting these types in the field, okay? So you want to look beyond the words, and you want to watch the behavior, the tone, and the pace. With a shark, hey, behavior, tone, and pace. You just got to give it to me right now, right? If you got a whale, hey, I really feel like the behavior is important. The tone and the pace is going to be really important to me too. I just want to feel like I'm on the same page as you. With a dolphin, behavior, tone, and pace. So the behavior and the tone and the pace is really, really important. I really want to match the pace with you, because if we do this deal, we should think about potentially going to Arizona and playing golf together next week. Things like that. And then you have the sea urchin. Watch the behavior, watch the tone, watch the pace, make sure the numbers are on point, make sure all your trends are good, make sure you're picking only the good comps and you're discarding the bad comps. And you probably want to have a neighborhood profile I'm almost giving too much emotion and tonality as a sea urchin, but you just want to make sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed when you're interacting with them. You want to assess all these different shark, whale, dolphin, and sea urchin. You want to assess these in lenders, agents, and contractors. Realistically, you want to assess these with every single person you talk to. You may learn a lot about people if you can figure out what's driving them. And also, each has a specific language. Each has specific behaviors, and each has specific telltale signs, okay? So real estate agents, let's go into them. Shark agents, number one, their language cues. Hey, let's close this. Let's close this deal, absolutely. Number two, hey, I want to double dip. Hey, if I'm listing this property or if I'm helping you buy this property, what I want to do is go ahead and list this for you on the back end. I want that other commission. I want 2 commissions. Can I represent the buyer and the seller? Is that cool with you? This is what I'm planning on doing. I've got a pipeline, right? If you hear them referring to their pipeline, they're making moves. They're moving and shaking. So you can always figure this out when it comes to the shark real estate agents. A lot of times they're not going to get super deep with you on calls, but you're going to get business done. You're going to get it done quick. You're going to hang up the phone. You're not even going to realize what just happened. Shark agents can be very, very powerful and effective. Shark agent behavioral traits, they speak fast. There's competitive energy that radiates from them, okay? They want to be number one in their area. They want to be number one in their office. That's very valuable to them. They brag about their volume. They brag about their hustle. You'll see their hashtags, hustle hard and stuff like that if you're on social media. But hey, I did 20 deals. I have a buddy who's a shark agent. Like, hey, how'd it go, Q4 of 2024? He's like, oh man, I did 23 transactions and blah, 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 blah. I got second place in my office, right? That's what they lead with rather than, hey, I had a couple of good deals. The market went up and down. So you'll hear them, it's speed, it's results. There's competition that's oozing from their pores. They push for a commitment fast, right? They're going to try to lock you into a contract and potentially even an exclusivity agreement. And they're going to try to do it in a way that will seem aggressive. Now, how to spot these shark agents? They're talking about volume. They're talking about performance. They're talking about commissions. They try to control the negotiation or the call pace. Again, they want to be in control. They may test your confidence. Even if they're not consciously trying to do this, like it just comes out of them. It's who they are. They're dominant personalities. They focus on scale, they focus on leads, and they focus on monetization early. Okay, early in the conversation. They want to know how they could do numerous ones of these. Can they get that other commission, right? Like, hey, if they represent you and write this offer, can they do the next one plus the next 5? Like you have those conversations very quickly with these shark agents. Now let's talk about whale agents, okay? Whale agents, for me personally, although I am a whale, I'm a very caring person. When it comes to whale agents, sometimes I have some trouble with them, right? I want them to be a little bit more aggressive. Hey, they're like, hey, I just want to help my clients, right? I want to be there for them. Some of the language cues also, I love making a difference, right? They're always people-oriented and trust-oriented, loyalty-oriented. Whale agents, their behavioral traits, soft tone. They're going to ask you about you. They're going to ask you about their goals. This newsflash is real similar to the whale lenders too. They may hesitate. They may overthink. Now, they're not going to overthink analytically like a sea urchin would, but they're going to overthink a lot of times and maybe think themselves out of a deal because of trust and because of understanding who is benefiting. Can everyone benefit? Is it just the seller? Is it just the buyer that's benefiting? Who else in my office can this benefit? Is this going to benefit the contractor? Right? They really, really care tremendously about that. They're loyal to past clients. They're often emotional about real estate. And sometimes that can get in our way. Now, how to spot them? They share emotional stories about clients or past deals. They ask about your intentions with the property. And they focus on win-win outcomes and not speed or volume. And a final thing, they're going to share stories about families or doing the right thing. This is people first agents, commission second agents. They don't want to screw anyone over. It's very, very important to them. Now let's talk about the dolphin agents. Now their language cues. I'm in this for the excitement. Oh, that's an exciting deal. Oh, that's fun, right? Let's get creative. Let's get creative with this rehab job. So you get stuff like that when it comes to dolphins. Their behavioral traits. They're fun, they're energetic, they're social butterfly, they want to talk to people, they're okay with talking to your contractor, they're okay with talking to your business partner, they want to talk to everybody, and they're going to have these same fun vibes. They're typically people that we're attracted to their energy. They like creative deals, and they may suggest off-market strategies. And often, again, they're a little bit disorganized. Now, how to spot them in the field? They're talking fast, they're laughing often, and sometimes they overshare. They tell you stuff that maybe they shouldn't have told you about. They're excited about creative strategies. They're excited about staging houses, right? putting dinner table that they can get from a friend that's got this stuff in a storage unit and they want to get it over to the house because it's going to look really cool. You know, the gold against the blue wall is going to look amazing. And they connect via personality and social proof more than comps. Okay, they want to connect based on the conversation as well as what somebody else told you from a referral. They're going to care more about that than the comps, than, you know, the details of the deal. That's their most important personality trait. That's what they value the most. And another thing is they're going to friend you or add you or follow you on social media before the contract is signed, sealed, and delivered. Now let's talk about the Sea Urchin agents. So their language cues. Hey, what's the ARV? How'd you get to that number? I run everything through the MLS system first. I'm going to make sure to do this by the book. Okay, you get that from the Sea Urchins all the time. So their behavioral traits, they're detail focused. They may bring binders or spreadsheets if you meet with them in person. They're going to fact check you. They want all the comps documented. Okay, they want to make sure that every single thing that you're looking at, if you have an ARV of 249, they may say, no, it's $248,900. They're going to correct you with that stuff because they want to be down to the penny by the book. And they speak in bullet points. They're going to say, I got this, I got this, I got this, and I'm saying it in my very boring tone, very neutral tone. And they are going to think about things quite a bit and make sure that you're on the same page, especially when something's data driven. Now let's go into contractors, shark contractors. All right, let's go through their language cues first. Hey, what's the budget, right? You talk to someone, your first conversation, hey, I'm Jake. I've got a property that's about to go under contract in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. I was hoping that I could work with you to potentially get a bid. Hey, what's the budget? Right? They're gonna hit me with that really, really quick. It's volume, it's speed, it's numbers. It's how much can they make. I bring a whole crew, but only if it's worth my time. A lot of times they'll talk to like they're God's gift, right? They're the best thing since sliced bread. And oftentimes they feel like that. And again, they're not trying to make you feel bad or feel small, but that's how they're hardwired, right? They're telling you the truth. Hey, I got a full crew that I can put on that we can get it done if the price is right. What's the price? You know, how much are you gonna pay me? With behavioral traits for shark contractors, they're going to show up ready to sell themselves. Okay, they're going to be ready to tell you how they're great. They're going to be ready to get the deal going. They're going to move quick. They're going to let you know why they're good. They're going to ask you really direct questions about money. They're showing up ready to sell. Okay, they move fast. They want the job now. They want you to commit now. They don't care if you're, bringing 3 or 4 other people into the house to get competitive bids. They want that commitment. They want it now. They want it quick. If it works out for them. Okay, they talk about how busy they are. Okay. Hey, yeah, I'm doing this, but I got 3 other jobs coming up. If this one's worth my while, I might be able to get it in. What are we looking at? Can we start next week? You got something for me to sign? If that budget works for me, like, hey, let's go, right? That's how they're talking. You feel like, oh, I just met you. And that's a normal part of it. Now, how to spot them in the field. They negotiate hard. They negotiate fast. They negotiate on price. They negotiate on timelines, and they're ready to make moves. They speak confidently about their crew or their speed. Very egotistical usually, and I think that's a positive thing. They focus on how much work they can get. It's just not job quality, it's quantity. Hey, if I do this for you, how many more are we looking at in the future? If I can get this price for you, can I get the next 4 deals? You got 4 more coming up this quarter. I'd like to get my crew from job to job. We can keep working for you. We can keep doing this. All right, they're gonna talk like that. And they're blunt, they're transactional, and they want the check. They're good if they're managed properly. Okay, and a lot of times they manage themselves properly, but when you got your checks and balances, things can move quickly. And these guys can be very, very good if you're on the same page. Now, whale contractors, let's talk about their language cues. So, hey, I just want to do good work, right? Their work quality is very, very important. They want you to feel happy, right? If there's something that you call out like, hey, I don't like this color, I don't like how it came out, they take that very personal. I take care of my people. Right? If you've got a whale as a contractor and they can get stuff done quickly, as long as you show them appreciation for what they've done and you truly make sure that they feel your appreciation, they can have a very, very good relationship with you. Now, their behavioral traits, they care about craftsmanship. They may undercharge or overpromise to be helpful. And that's something you got to be aware of. Let's say you got a $40,000 budget and they come in at 50 and you're like, look, probably can't make this happen because, 40 is pretty much all I got on this deal. They'll try to get it down to 40, and sometimes that'll put you and them in a weird position. And they're trying to make it happen, but sometimes it's just not feasible. But they may hit 40. Sometimes they'll even lose money to hit 40, which isn't necessarily a good thing. You want your contractors to make profit. Or they'll overpromise on what they're going to do for you, and that'll burn them out. They build trust slowly. They want to earn your trust, and you want to make sure that you earn their trust. right? It's a two-way street, and they'll be working at it very intentionally, but they want to make sure they're going to be feeling you out every single time you move a chess piece forward on the board. Now, here's how to spot them. They emphasize craftsmanship and pride in their work. They talk about helping people and doing things right, which is a great thing. They build trust slowly, and they value loyalty. And they're often referred by word of mouth, similar to dolphins when it comes to real estate agents. They're going to show pictures of past jobs, not necessarily invoices, and they're going to give you oftentimes referral information for other folks that they've worked for. And if you call those people, they're going to talk about how great the person is in addition to how well the job was done. Now with dolphin contractors, their language cues, this is going to look sick. Oh, Jake, this house, it is looking sick. Right, that's something I'll hear from a dolphin contractor. Hey, let's have a little fun with this design, Jake. You know, I'm thinking about putting this accent wall, little waterfall countertop. We do granite. We could do a little something crazy on the sides. Maybe we can have some backsplash that's shiny. This is gonna look sick. Let's have some fun with this, right? They use words like that, and it's usually, you can tell they're smiling even if you're talking to them on the phone. Now, their behavioral traits, they're chatty, they're upbeat, right? They're always in a good mood. They may bring music to the job site if you've got music bumping. If you ever show up to a job site in person, that's your dolphin contractor. And they get excited about the transformation. Oh, this looks sick. Let me do before and after pictures. Oh my gosh, right? They love that vibe, that energy. So how to spot them, they talk about the vision or cool ideas for the house. They use casual, high energy language, really easy to get along with, but again, may forget deadlines, right? You have that lack of discipline, especially toward the end of a job, because they get caught up in the idea. They're distracted by the new shiny thing. And they'll spend 20 minutes talking about backsplash patterns and then forget what time demo starts tomorrow. That's a typical dolphin contractor for you. Now let's talk about the sea urchin contractors. Language cues. Hey, where's the scope of work? Are you creating it or me? I need you to review every point. Let's go over this. Do you have that in writing? All right, you talk about a deal that you close. Hey, can I see the contract? Do you have it in writing that this is under fund control and the draws are coming out on Friday? Maximum 48 hours after I send you the invoice and pictures. They're always on point and on schedule. Their behavioral traits, they're precise. They may ask for permits and documentation first. They ask for detailed measurements. If something's 23 and 1/3 inches, right? They're putting 23 and 1/3. They're not rounding down. They're not rounding up. Things are immaculate with their work. They hate ambiguity. They need very, very clear direction, which I like because I'm more than willing to give very, very clear direction. I can go into shark mode very often when it comes to dealing with contractors. And so if I'm a shark and I'm dealing with another shark, we may start off on the right foot. But if that shark is angry one day, or if I'm angry one day, or if either of us is annoyed, we may be playing chicken before too long. Hey, look, if you don't like this, you could do a different deal. I could hire someone else. And they may even say, hey, look, if you don't like the way that I'm operating, I can go get another client. I've got 20 clients in the pipeline waiting for me. I don't need you. You have those types of conversations. But with sea urchins, they want direction, right? They want somebody to go give direction, set the vision, set the expectations, and they're gonna meet those expectations. And if they don't, they'll call and let you know. They take that very, very seriously. So how to spot them? They bring a clipboard to the job site. They're gonna ask very precise questions. They want a materials list. They want draw schedules. They want scopes of work before everything starts. They're usually uncomfortable with vague instructions or change orders. They want very clear, intentional communication every step of the way. They're gonna bring a tape measure and a clipboard to the bid. These are the sea urchins for you. So now that we know how to spot the 4 types, next skill is to understand how to talk to them. This is where the real influence happens. The goal is not to manipulate them. It's to connect quickly and naturally by speaking their language. You could be talking to anybody about a particular project, a flip, or a renovation project, or talking about the numbers on a deal. So you're talking about the same thing, but you're speaking a different language if you're talking like a dolphin and the other person is a shark. Or if you're talking like a sea urchin, the other person is a whale. You want to make sure you're matching their energy and keeping in mind what resonates to them. So let's talk about mirroring and building rapport. So building rapport with sharks. So sharks want clarity, they want speed, and sharks want control. They want to feel like they have control. They respect directness and hate anything that feels like fluff or indecision. Okay, they want to know what you want. They want to know now. They got to get off the phone. They don't want to hear your thought process. They want you to be direct. And sometimes if you don't have a dominant shark side of your personality, which is fine, you may almost feel like you're being offensive to them, but in reality, they love that. That's what they thrive off of. They really enjoy someone talking with them direct, clear communication. They're not getting offended by it. Unless you're disrespectful, you never want to be disrespectful, but you may feel like you're being a little bit too assertive if that's not your natural dominant personality type. So with sharks, you want to use phrases like, hey, let's talk ROI. Here's how you win on this deal. Listen, I keep things lean, I keep things profitable. That's how I do it. I keep it moving, right? Keeping it moving is a big thing for sharks, something I always have in my mind when I'm dealing with them. Now, here's a rapport tip. Mirror their tempo. If they're going to talk fast and direct, even if you don't know the right words to use, you want to talk fast and direct back when you're talking to them. Be confident, get straight to the point. There's no storytelling time with sharks. There's no, let me think about it. Well, in my mind, if we do this and this happens, they'll get annoyed by that. You just want to be straight to the point, quick, talking fast, very matter of fact, boom, 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 we're good. Get off the phone, talk to you next time. Now, if things go poorly with a shark, or if you find yourself having a little bit weird energy with them, you want to regain control. You summarize in one powerful sentence and ask a very bold question. For example, hey, look, with 20% ROI in 90 days, change the game for you, right? That's how I could get a shark back on point, right? A double-digit return on this next 4 to 6 month deal. Is that going to be something beneficial to you or not? Totally fine if not. Sharks snap back when they sense strength, okay? So if you have strength in the way that you're talking to them, you're going to get their attention again and get them back into the game. So let's talk about building rapport with whales. Now, with what they respond to, they care about purpose, people, and principles, right? Purpose, people, and principles. They want to know that you're trustworthy and that what you're doing is good, not just profitable, okay? There's some people out there that are whales that, you know, if they think about real estate investing based on something that maybe a family member told them, a lot of times they won't get into it because they think, you know, you're hurting someone, or that it's a zero-sum game where if you benefit, then someone else, is taken advantage of, right? They want to make sure that you're describing, like if you're talking to a lender, they want to make sure that what they're putting money into, number one, is helping you, number two is helping them, and number three is helping everyone else involved. Like with a whale, I may talk to them about something, you know, let's say they're a brand new real estate investor. I want to make sure that they know that I'm making money after everything is said and done. I want them to know that they're making money. I'm going to talk to them about the vacations that my family and I like to take, but I'm also going to talk about how, you know, I'll build it in there. Hey, when we resell this, we're going to give the dream home to a brand new family to create their own memories in. Okay. And in addition to that, the contractor and everyone that works for the contractor, they're putting food on their table, and the real estate agent's closing a deal. They're getting a commission, as well as the buyer's real estate agent. Everybody eats in this business, right? I want to make sure to make a point about that. So they respond to that if they're a whale. So with whales, use phrases like, hey, look, we're in this together. You can count on me. How do I know this will get done in time? Well, listen, anything can happen, right? Nothing in life is perfect. You know, there's risk in everything. Surprise, that's what life's all about. But I'll tell you one thing, if anything ever goes south, you can count on me that the first call you get is going to be from me, so you understand what went wrong and what I intend to do to fix it. I want to make sure that you always feel comfortable putting your hard-earned money with somebody that really cares and, you know, cares and respects what you went through to be able to earn those monies that you're choosing to put with me and with my family. Right? That's how I'm talking to a whale. You can count on me. This helps the seller and gives us a fair outcome, right? If I'm buying a house and I'm getting it at an extreme deal, sometimes they may be like, well, you're getting it for 50 grand less than what they're asking. Like, isn't that bad for the seller? It's like, no, this actually helps the seller. It gets them out of a situation that they're having trouble getting out of. I'm actually helping them quite a bit. And it gives us a fair outcome as well as when I flip this house, the new buyer is getting a house that they couldn't have ever gotten their hands on in the condition that the house previously was in if it wasn't for you and me coming at this together and putting this into condition that they can create a new memory in this property, right? Like I'm talking like that with a whale. As far as rapport tips are concerned, you want to be warm, you want to be sincere, and you want to ask them questions about their values and motivations, right? It's not just us being interviewed. We want to talk and engage with them in the same way. We're mirroring what they're doing. Now, if things go poorly with the whale, you want to pause and you want to show that you care, right? Try something like, hey, sounds like there's some hesitation. What can I clarify or reassure you about? How can I make sure that you feel 100% comfortable with this? That's my job. I want to make sure that you feel really, really good and really, really confident in what I'm doing for the both of us here. Whales respond to being seen emotionally. They want to know that you understand them and that you're taking them into consideration. Building rapport with the dolphins. All right, so dolphins want fun, they want energy, and they want connection, right? This is what they respond to. If you're too stiff or you're too transactional, they're going to check out. Their eyes are going to glaze over and they're going to be thinking about what they're doing next week. So they buy into you more than they buy into the deal itself. Okay, so with a Dolphin, you want to use phrases like, hey, you're going to love this part, man. Listen, Jennifer, you're going to love what we do right here. It's going to be awesome. You're really going to be proud that you're a part of something so transformational. It's going to be crazy how it looks at the end. Listen, me and the lenders that I've worked with in the past, with a deal like this, if you decide to get in, like, you are going to absolutely love what you and I create together on this deal. It's going to be amazing, right? With all the Dolphins that are part of my power teams, I always hit them up on vacations. I let them know what I'm doing. Oh, you got to try this restaurant. It was awesome. The bar was great. Try this steak. Oh man, the ambiance at the restaurant, the lighting, it was amazing. Me and my wife had a great time. Like, you should definitely go there next time you have a chance, right? And I say it while I'm smiling. Also, hey, listen, John. Listen, man, this has been one really fun transformation. It's been so awesome working with you. I like your energy. We should definitely do this again. That's Dolphin phrases. So a rapport tip, match their enthusiasm. Smile. Even if you're on the phone and they can't see you smile, you want to be smiling. It comes out in the tonality of your voice. Tell stories, okay? Keep things light. It doesn't have to be serious like a shark. You're just talking, you're kind of going off on different tangents. Dolphins love that. Now, if things go poorly with a Dolphin, you want to loosen up, right? You just want to remind yourself, hey, this is a Dolphin. I need to take it down a notch. Say something playful or disarming, like, all right, hey, listen, I'm getting way too serious for you, right? All right. Hey man, look, I think I'm going a little bit overboard. Hey, bring me back to earth here. Say something like that. Reconnect through personality, not pressure. Okay, you want your personality to shine. You want to be smiling. Like, loosen up, and that brings them back into the game. Now, building rapport with sea urchins, challenging one, okay? Sea urchins crave structure, they crave proof, and they crave precision. They respect thoroughness and calm logic, not hype or big promises. With sea urchins, you want to use phrases like, hey, let me walk you through this. Let me go step by step so we can make sure on every single bullet point here that you and I are on the same page and that you understand this thoroughly. Notice how my tonality changes. All right, here's my exact process and here's the paperwork. Let me walk you through the paperwork of this joint venture agreement. I want to make sure that you understand every single part, and I want to make sure that we are both on the exact same page on what to expect. I want to show them I'm prepared, you guys. Hey, the comps and the repair budget are broken down right here on page 4. I'm certain that you're going to go through this independently, but if you want to ask any questions on what you see in this document while you and I are on the phone, give it to me right now. I'm more than happy, more than prepared to answer any question that you have. All right, so I'm giving them information. I'm feeding them with logic. I'm not feeding them with stories. I'm not feeding them with quick, trying to get them going through and giving me answers right away. I'm making sure to give them their space, but also at the same time, I'm conveying that I'm prepared to answer anything thoroughly. I'm showing that I am more prepared than anyone else. That preparation, if it's brought, communicated properly to a sea urchin, that's a really good way to earn their business. All right, now rapport tip, be methodical, not emotional. Offer specifics before being asked. Like, if I'm presenting an investor proposal to a sea urchin, I'm gonna make sure that I pre-ask them or give them permission to ask me questions on any bullet point that's on that document, okay? I have time for them. I'm making sure that they don't feel like rushed. I'm not gonna make it seem like I've got to get off the call. I wanna give them time to grill me with any question they have. I'm staying cool, calm, collected, under control, and giving them every single detail I possibly can on what I plan to do with the flip. Now, if things go poorly with the sea urchin, you need to slow down. With the sea urchin, I give this advice sometimes to people that are on my team. Someone's really grilling you with questions, and you feel like you're trying to come at them emotionally and they're trying to come at you logically. Say, look, stop, take a deep breath. Slow down. All right. Sounds like you need clarity to move forward on this. Do you want me to break down the key numbers of this system, right? So if I'm talking about the numbers, hey, sounds like you need a little bit more clarity, and that's totally fine. I'm completely prepared to give you that. Do you want me to break down the exact process of how I got this $385,000 after repair value? Because there's a very specific and very intentional process I go through to get that number. It's the reason, I'm usually within 1% of that on my resale targets. I just want to give them logic, help them feel trust through them feeling comfortable with the numbers, with the dollars and cents, with the bullet points, with all the fine details. Okay, you give them certainty and it'll reopen the door to them. So quick recap. Look, in this game, people skills equals flipping power. This is a numbers and trends game, but in addition to that, it's a relationship game. Unless you're wanting to do everything yourself, in which case you're going to limit your ability to really scale. If you can understand people and understand your process, and the process, it's numbers, it's trends, this is a numbers game, but the people that you bring onto your team, they're the people that do a lot of the heavy lifting, and they need direction from us. So if we're giving them direction in a language that resonates with them, a lot of times our flips can go, with minimal, if any, speed bumps. But if you're speaking a different language, or if you can't get yourself to mirror them, sometimes there's a lot of headbutting that goes back and forth, and that's where our egos are getting involved. So understand that if you don't only want to understand what's driving yourself, but if you can understand what's driving someone else through their language patterns, through their character traits, through their behavioral traits, you really get a better understanding of how to communicate with someone in a way that's effective and resonates throughout the lifetime of a specific project. So let's recap the 4 different personality types. So first we got sharks. Remember, they want speed, they want ROI, and they want control. You got your whales. They want trust, they want loyalty, and they want to make an impact. You got your dolphins. They want fun, they want energy, and they want freedom. Then you have your sea urchins. They want facts, they want systems, and they want security. So the next steps, I want to give you a little bit of homework with this because this is really, really important. This 4 personality types has helped me so much in this business, being able to understand who someone is and then adapt my delivery of any type of communication based on the person that's receiving it, the audience. I don't want them to understand me. I'm a good communicator with my teams if my audience feels understood, whether it's an audience of a ton of people or if it's just an audience of a single person. I'm in a one-on-one conversation. I want them to feel understood. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to practice listening more than talking, okay? Get into your next conversation, or your next 5 conversations, and just try figuring out, diagnosing, and then matching someone's tone or their pace for just the first 30 to 60 seconds in a conversation. If you do this, you'll be surprised on how much closer, how much more rapport, how much tighter you get with someone just by matching how they're talking to you, how their tone is, how quickly or slowly they're speaking to you. If you can match that and mirror what they're doing, you'll find yourself getting way deeper into conversations. You have way better business partnerships. You have way better run companies. You have way better relationships in your personal life. So just understand that listening is more important than speaking. And when you speak, the goal is not to get someone to understand what you're saying. The goal is to help someone else feel understood. Keep those things on point in the back of your mind, in the front of your mind, and you'll, again, be surprised with the results that you have. If you want to learn more about this, the systems that we have, not only with numbers and trends, but also with personality types, through scripts, through documents, through templates, everything that has to do with the house flipping business, hit one of the links below. It should allow you to book a call with our team to talk about partnering up, making some money together in today's game. We have a guarantee that you get at least 1 property under contract within your first 60 days, regardless of your experience level. Hit that link below. And if not, hopefully this helped you. On to the next one. Happy investing.